up, YouTube? So, we are gonna squat today. We have our main squat day today. If you guys are kind of newer to the channel, we are prepping for a meet right now. We got a meet in just under 7 weeks. Right now we're on our double block. All right, what's up, YouTube? So, if you guys are newer to the channel, we have a meet in 7 weeks. So, today is our main squat day. We got doubles this block. This is week 1 of this block. So, we got RP6 double on squat, some speed deadlifts, some other stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. Bunch of boring stuff. But, like I said, if you're newer, we got the meet coming up 7 weeks from now. We're obviously hoping to hit our best total ever, hit some PRs, hopefully in general, not just in the gym, but on the platform obviously as well. So we're gonna do these doubles real quick. I think our plan is right around like 380, something like that. But let's get warmed up real quick and we'll see how this goes.
I did not that you're about to do. I did not do this. So I'll do that. You're doing it. So why was?
Well, 370 for 375. Sorry, moved decent. I wish the speed was there more. But I need to remind myself that doubles are hard. That even an RP6 or 7 or 8 on a double is still hard. But I don't know. Moved all right. 335 triples. We got 3x3. All right, a new cue I've been working on. I just saw it yesterday. It was from Colton, who just yesterday hit the all-time total record. Squatted 1,000 in sleeves, which is crazy. I think he hit 1,003 in sleeve, 615 I think it was on bench. And I believe he pulled 485 or 490 kgs on the deadlift. He went to pull the 500 again and failed. He failed at knees. I heard that he's supposed to be pulling again today with straps. I assume because he's been pulling after the meets and straps, and pulling like 5 or 5. I think he pulled 520 was it, or 510 or something a couple meets ago. I wonder if the way his peaking works is that his peak on deadlift is he's able to withstand some back-to-back days of heavier exposure. I don't know, but anyways, I saw something with him with squats, and it kind of clicked in my head, right? And at first, it didn't until I thought about it in a different light, even than what he was. And sometimes, like I'm trying to point out, that's what cues are. Cues sometimes are to do something, to get you to do something, and it's just is a mindset switch from, from one line of thinking to the next, or to cue something for a muscle to work, or to not, or to this, or to that. And sometimes they're different for people, and it's the same outcome, right? So, Ed Cohen talks a lot about, we're not spreading our legs out, we're opening our taint, as he calls it. We're getting that. And like if you stop and you're in your squat and you slightly squat down and you open your taint, as he calls it, like you do, your knees like get out. It's like this whole like everything. It's almost like you can feel your femurs like spread apart, right? And that gets your knees out. Colton talked about him and two other guys training. They talked about twisting your knees out until you feel tension in your quads. My only thing with the Ed Cohen's open taint thing is when I do that, I have a tendency to only feel my quads, right? When I But for Colton's perspective, if I twist my knees, I will never feel tension in my quads until I am so far twisted. But if I combine the two of them and I can sit here and open my taint, whatever you want to call it, like feeling your femurs slide out in your pelvis almost, and then twist my knees out, I can feel my glutes, my hams, my adductors, and my quads all firing, all tight, all tense. So that's what I've been doing in this top set and all these back offs right now. That's what we're kind of focusing on. Is like when we're setting this up, even when we're on our rack, right? I'm like opening my taint, whatever you want to call it, twisting my knees out. Now I can feel tension in my quads, my hands, my glutes. And it's just unrack, feel the tension again. Ooh, that works. Something too that they said that really clicked in my head was finding that tension and using that tension to stay in your quads. But, you know, focusing on not losing that tension coming out of the hole. And I tried it with a plate on during my warm up, and I realized I lose my tension on the way up. You know, I have knee cave, which inherently I don't think knee cave is a problem. The knee cave only shows that my adductors are stronger, and that's why everything's pulling in, or my adductors are weak, so that way everybody's pulling in to put more bias on the muscles that are stronger, right? So it's not that I'm trying to fix that per se, but I do understand that keeping that position, my glutes, hams, and quads are probably going to work in a better, they're being in a better position to work and to carry the load. So focusing a lot on doing that and keeping that, maybe not even the same movement per se, like maybe not keeping my knees tracked the same or whatever, or however you want to think about it. But for me personally, I'm just keeping that feeling. I'm keeping that tense feeling that I'm getting in my quads, hams, and glutes the whole way. And if that means that as I come down, my knees are going further out or further in, or coming out of the hole, they're still coming in a bit or going out, it doesn't matter. I'm worried more about the tension that I'm feeling, because as part of me is like, if I can feel the tension, then I know it's there, right? And it's also helping me push more on my midfoot too, and not pushing so much on my toes or on my heels. You know, I typically push on my toes a lot, and as I fatigue, it gets rocked back to my heels. So doing this is really keeping me able to push midfoot, almost like outside midfoot. Oh, see this one more time. See, execute it the same way we've been. Alright, I was not to plan. Great example on the last set. Felt good. Third rep, kind of lost focus a bit. And in doing that, I rocked way back on my heels. I need to stay forward. I need my quads to stay engaged. I need my knees to stay forward. I need to keep that weight over my midfoot. I just talked about it. Great example. I'm going to agree with everybody's programming and also dogging everybody's programming. I think that we got deadlift next. We got sumo deadlift. We are going to do 2 reps. We're going to do, I think a 3 or a 4x2. I think it's a 4x2. We're going to do speed work, but we're not going to do speed work because speed work doesn't work. So we're going to do some maximal work, but that doesn't really work either. So we're going to do like repetitive stuff, but that doesn't work either. So we'll just do our secondary just to get more volume, but that also doesn't really work. So we're going to use a heavier weight to get exposure to heavier weight, but that doesn't really work either. Like, I don't know. I think my point is, it doesn't matter how you look at it. These guys all say the same thing, and I find it so funny. A lot of Westside guys are speed work. That, you know, dynamic effort. Speed work is different than dynamic effort. Dynamic effort's this. Speed work can be that. They can be the same. That doesn't work. So maximal work is what really works. You know, keeping the reps lower can work really on your form and technique, and keeping the weights later. Like, it's all the same stuff. It's always the same thing. It's always, you're going to have a main something that's heavy and intense in nature, and something else that is repetitive and lower in weight, keeping the intensity up and down depending on how you are as a lifter. They all work. They're all the same. There isn't a difference. I find no difference in like lower weight, submaximal, speed work, dynamic effort, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. My head too. Great example of this, and it's not, no hate, no shade. He's a very strong lifter. He obviously is a very accomplished coach. I don't think anything wrong with it all. But I noticed a lot of people do it. Chad Wesley Smith is like the biggest one that comes to my head and I get his points, I really do. But he'll say stuff like, you know, Westside doesn't work. Or let's just say anybody in general, but I know that he's a good example of Westside doesn't work, you know, whatever. But like, a lot of it's like, okay, Westside doesn't work. What do you want me to do then? Okay, well, you need to have a main lift, okay? You need to have a secondary lift that complements the first, okay? Your main one should be heavy, okay? And your other one should be light, okay? Your secondary should be repetitive. It should be something you can work on form, something you can work on speed, you know? Bar speed's not everything, but it's something you should be able to improve on the speed of the bar, right? Okay, so that's not max effort, and that's not a dynamic or speed work day. You know what I mean? Like, have heavy exposure. That's. I mean, is that not your heavy lift? Is that not a max effort day? You know, maximal effort, let's say, is different though. Like, not 100%. We're not hitting PRs every day, and I get their point when they're like, changing exercises doesn't work. Fine, that's fair. I can get that. But also at the same time, even with those, they'll be like, well, don't do the same thing every time though, because then you'll stay on stagnant. Okay, so you gotta switch it up. Okay. And I understand their point that a lot of times in Westside they would switch too often or too quickly, for sure. But there are times where I need to work on the SSB bar. I need to work on pod squats. I need to work on pin press or pin squats. I need to work on a hack squat. I need to do things that are going to help my weaknesses. And Westside got that right. Westside got it right of, I need to do different movements that help my weaknesses in ways. And I need my other work to be submaximal, fast, you know, lower intensity than my main stuff. And that's all this is. You know, if you want to call this your secondary movement, your volume day, or whatever, it's all the same. Your repetition day, your speed day, it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. Speed pulls are the same as submaximal pulls, are the same as dynamic pulls, are the same as a secondary pull, a volume day. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. So I decided to go about this outro a little different. I realized through this that I did not want to talk anymore. So we're going to do the audio kind of over. My lifts, deadlift smooth, pretty decent. I did a 4x2 for the sumo, just for like some technique stuff or whatever. Nothing too crazy. Speed moved pretty well. I mean, nothing really to talk about. After deadlift, however, we did move on to bench. I think I actually only recorded 3 sets of my deadlift, but I did do 4. So then we were going to move into like a 3x4 on bench. Again, nothing too crazy. This is all just for like technique. We're getting closer to meet. I want to get more specific, dial in my form a little better, just to get some more touches on my competition bench, just for the sake of it, because we need skill practice in a way. And the last thing I want to do is kind of tire out on technique, you know, keep my chest high, all that type of stuff. So meet is coming up. But this is the set where I kind of realized that I did not want to talk anymore. And honestly, this pretty close sums up to like how I'm feeling towards the end of this prep. So I mean, I feel it, dude. I'm tired. I'm very tired. This sucks. I can't breathe. But we had to move on at some point. But fatigue is setting in from all this programming and all this stuff, which is good. It's what we want. We want the fatigue to be high right now. We kind of want to feel not super strong right now. That's not the point of this whole prep, is not to feel strong the whole way through or at any given day. The whole point is to kind of feel fatigued up until the meet. And then when the meet hits, that's where we feel no fatigue. That's where the fatigue is cut. That is kind of where, we should feel pretty decent. And even if we don't feel decent in our head, the bar should move as if we feel great. Does that make sense? So we want to feel a little fatigued, and we definitely do. My bench feels fatigued, my squat, everything does. We did 2 sets of this. We did some leg extensions, and I always superset my leg extensions with like a leg curl, just because I like the way to hit my quads, immediately hit my hamstrings, just to get them pretty fatigued. I don't know. This feels like a pretty basic superset. I don't know. We did 2 sets of it though. I need to add more weight to this for sure. Those moved very well, especially the extensions. But however, I did not feel like it because I really want this week to be as close to a deload as I can get while keeping the intensity pretty high. I fully do not believe in deload weeks. I think that they cut too much. I think people take them too far to where you become undertrained, understimulated, all that stuff. But I definitely want to have some a little bit of a less stimulus here to kind of cut fatigue just a tad bit. So some hip extensions, some hip flexor, kind of whatever you want to call them, pull-ups or raises or whatever. Just kind of doing these to keep my hips kind of healthy through all this stuff. I probably should be doing these more year-round, but I'm going to do them more for meet prep just to keep everything fluid and moving and stuff. And then my adductors have been used fairly well, so I kind of want to get some more mobility in them and strength. So I think these Copenhagen kind of like clamshell looking things to me work really well. So the Copenhagen plank hits my abs, it hits my adductors for sure. It keeps me strong in that position to hold. But then using the other leg kind of gets me to like understand that like how my adductors should be tense while my femurs are still moving in my hips. At least that's the way I'm thinking about it. And then we got some just some overhead setups. So that's all I got for today. If you're new to the channel, watch more of my stuff, subscribe, like the video, helps me out a ton, watch more of my stuff. But I think we're pretty much done. There's no outro, so the video will just cut when this is over.